Our top story this hour, a federal judge poised to prohibit zero-tolerance policies separating migrant families at the border for 8 years. She would be blocking that lightning rod Trump-era zero policy that separated more than 5,000 children from their families. Now, with that said, children may still be separated from their families if there is belief that the child is being abused and/or the parents are convicted of serious crimes. Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar joins me now to discuss. Congressman, good to see you. As a representative of a border district, your reaction to this move?
Well, first of all, we understand that there are certain policies that have to be adjusted, and certainly the courts play a big role on that. But look, the bottom line, what works at the border is what President Obama and Secretary Jay Johnson did. Remember, they did not separate families. They did not use Title 42. They did not use stay in Mexico. They just did one thing that was very effective. They would hold people and then quickly return the people that had to be deported to show that there were repercussions. And they did it without any of the tools that President Trump did. And I think President Biden can do that. But as you know, we're in discussions to see we make some adjustments to the asylum law.
So what type of adjustments are you talking about?
Well, as you know, the Senate is looking at the criteria for asylum, because if you look at the reality, and there's times where, a couple of days ago, we got 12,000 individuals encounter at the border. Usually it's about 9,500, 10,000 individuals a day, give or take. When you have so many people coming in, you just can't give them those hearings right away. And as you know, if they get a notice to appear, they go before a judge, that will be 4, 5, 6 years in the future. So when you look at the people that come in, the grand majority of them are economics. They're under the asylum law that was set up for a different purpose. There's 5 things that a state has to persecute you on, whether it's religion, whether it's political belief or social class. There's 5 things. But most of the people, and I'm looking at the video right now, they're coming in for economic needs and they don't qualify. But unfortunately, they're allowed in. 4 or 5 years later, they probably will be told no. 89 to 90% will be rejected by an immigration judge, but at the end of 4 or 5 years.
So let's talk about these pictures, because this week our cameras were right there along the border in California as migrants were waiting days to be processed in makeshift encampments. And we're seeing scenes like this, as you know, all along the border. And many Republicans say they want to reduce illegal immigration, but is taking away one of the very few legal pathways to do that the best solution? Wouldn't that just inspire migrants to enter illegally?
Well, no. I mean, people are still coming. They've been coming for so many years. The bottom line is you got to have some quick repercussions at the border to show people that if they come to the border, they can pay their $8,000 to the criminal organizations, but at the end of the day, they're going to be quickly returned. That's what President Obama and Secretary Jay Johnson did without changing the law, without using Title 42, or without even using stay in Mexico. So there are ways to do this, but there are people that want to change the asylum law. I'm one of those Democrats. I think we can do a calibration there where you still allow people the right to ask for asylum. But clearly, if they're not here for one of those 5 reasons where a state persecutes them, then they have to be returned. I wish we could take care of the whole world, but simply we can't. I will say one more thing here about the population where I represent. I represent about 80% Hispanics, and a lot of people, like my parents and other parents, they came in and they did it the legal way. They came in, became a legal resident, then a naturalized citizen. Took them years to go through the legal process. And right now, a lot of my constituents are seeing people, they come in, it looks like they're jumping the lines. They come into the U.S. and there's this resentment that people are seeing here in South Texas along the border because they feel that these people are jumping the lines and did not follow the process like a lot of our parents did.
Understand. Well, I have to ask you about Trump and his immigration plans if he wins the White House. As you know, in September, he told this crowd in Iowa that he wants to bring back Operation Wetback, a 1954 campaign named for that absolutely offensive ethnic slur that aimed to round up and expel Mexican immigrants. Let's take a listen, Congressman.
That Dwight Eisenhower, good president, great president, people liked him. I like Ike, right? The expression, I like Ike. Moved 1.5 million illegal immigrants out of this country. Moved them just beyond the border, they came back. Moved them again beyond the border, they came back. Didn't like it. Moved them way south, they never came back. Dwight Eisenhower. You don't get nicer, you don't get friendlier. They moved 1.5 million people out. We have no choice. We have.
So what do you think? Now, Trump did go on to say that he... Go ahead. I just wanted to point out that Trump made it clear he wouldn't use that term, but he did defend the controversial tactics. So if Trump becomes president once again, does this concern you? And do you think he actually could order this to happen?
Well, we've seen. We've heard some of his words that that he wants to do when if he becomes president again. Look, he separated kids from their mothers. That was wrong. He's talking about bringing the most extreme, radical type of ways of securing the border. There's a way that you can have strong border security and still be respectful of immigrant rights and values. You can find that balance. But just to say, I'm going to be tough and I'm going to do this, that's not the way of securing the border. We can do it in a respectful way, but at the same time, secure the border. And again, I go back to Secretary Jake Johnson. I keep using him because, again, he did not separate kids from their mothers. He did not use stay in Mexico. He did not, talk about building a wall. What he did was enforce Title VIII, which is the law right now. He detained, gave them the hearings, and then he would return people, and he would show people going back. I've told this administration they need to do a better job at showing people being returned. There are removals, there are returns every day, almost every day, every week. But this administration doesn't want to show those images. All we see is the images that I'm seeing right now on your news. There are people that are coming in, but when was the last time that we showed images of people being returned? Therefore, words, the images are more powerful than words, and people in other countries are seeing what you and I are seeing, and therefore they get attracted to come over to the U.S.
So 1,000-foot-long barrier of buoys with barbed wire, as you know, was installed in the Rio Grande to prevent immigrants from crossing. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has ordered Texas and its governor, Greg Abbott, to remove it. Do you support that?
Listen, the immigration laws belong to the federal government. I think this is something that the federal government needs to do, and the state should find ways to cooperate and work with Border Patrol instead of them going Lone Ranger, doing things solo. There are ways that we can do this and secure the border by working together. But unfortunately, like even the barriers that you're showing, the buoys right now, the buoys are more show and tell, because if you look at the buoys, they're less than a quarter of a mile. And
so you don't think they're effective? You don't think they're effective in deterring immigrants from crossing into Texas?
The buoys? Absolutely. Let me give you this. We have a
absolutely
river that's
not, or absolutely?
No,
you think
they
it
don't. No,
it's not a deterrent.
They're
okay,
not
understood.
Effective. They're not effective. I'll tell you why. The river between the U.S. and Mexico and Texas is 1,200 miles. The buoys are less than a quarter of a mile. It's like putting a postage stamp on a football field. That's what the buoys are, less than a quarter of a mile for a river that's 1,200 miles long. So it's more of a symbolic type of situation.
So, Representative, I understand what you're saying. Just one more question, if you don't mind, about that there are all alternative ways. And I covered Jay Johnson and that administration, and I'm familiar with what you're talking about. But when you look at the influx of all the immigrants that are coming to the border right now and the lack of resources, I mean, let's be transparent here. I mean, Border Patrol cannot keep up with what's going on at that border. You know, there has to be some type of drastic action that needs to be taken. I mean, people are dying as they do this. So what is your solution as we are watching these images of you know, so many people making their way? And, you know, we don't get a lot of images of those that are being returned, because if you look at the number of people that are flooding the border, it's sort of hard to make the comparison.
Well, again, the comparison is that there are people that are being returned. I think we probably have to return a lot more than what we're seeing right now, because people need to understand there has to be repercussions at the border. So to answer your question, number one, do we need to have resources? Absolutely, we need to have resources. And that's why the supplemental that's still stuck in the Senate and hasn't done well in the House needs to get done to give resources to Homeland. Number two, that we need to change some of the authorities. Yes, the policy on asylum. I think we need to calibrate the asylum entrance right now, because right now, most of the people coming in are for economics. They don't qualify for asylum. So why are we allowing thousands of them every day when they don't qualify at the end of the day? So we need to have asylum officers at the border, and we need to put more money for ICE Air. That is, the charter planes where we return people over. And finally, we need to stop playing defense on the 1 yard line. That's why everybody talks about doing everything. But if we extend it to the 20-yard line, get Mexico to do more and get other countries to do more. And if we have to stop and deport people before they come here, then we need to work with those countries to do that. Because if we don't work with the other countries, then we're going to face these numbers. For example, the Mexican government, for their immigration department, said that they're out of money right now for the month of December, and that's why you're seeing large numbers. They only have the National Guard to help them. And again, Mexico says, yes, we're going to work with you, but at the end of the day, and I've talked to the secretary about this so many times, they say they're going to work with us, but look what's happening. They're still allowing too many people to come in. So we have to get tougher with Mexico and the other countries. They need to do a lot more, like they did under President Obama. And then finally, if we don't have those repercussions at the border, that means simply deporting and returning people under the law, then they're going to continue coming.
Well, and you bring up a good point. Other countries have to do their part in making it a better place for these individuals to live, so they don't necessarily feel like they have to flee for a better life. We need to hold other leaders accountable in other countries for this crisis as well. Congressman Cuellar, really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.